I'm going to start by showing us a video. Our perspective is that leaders in different sectors of the economy are going to lead through digital. I'll start by showing you a video around digital platforms. We also think that there's going to be a new wave. Some of my colleagues joke that there is soon going to be a platform war. So we believe there's going to be a new wave of digital platforms unleashed to provide financial services. So we're going to look at this video for 5 minutes, then I'll come back and share a few perspectives to reinforce our conference theme, which is leading through digital. So let's watch the video.
Honey, I'm thinking we should stop by quickly at the Esoperos before we proceed to inspect the land. You know, it's been a while after their court hearing.
That's true, honey. It's 6 months already. I actually had it in mind, but things keeps eroding it. But thank God I sympathized with them when it happened. Honey, I think we can use this opportunity to learn from their story. But that's if they will be willing to share.
Yes, honey.
Good afternoon, sir. Based on your frequent searches on Google, we discovered a listing on Real.com and realized it's 5 minutes drive from your house. Based on the average price sale, we also discovered it's the cheapest we've seen in months. I also synced with your account and noticed the land exceeds your budget as you will need additional funding of 20 million naira. We also realized you have share capital of 28 million naira in Dangote PLC. Would you like to liquidate it?
No, thanks. Is there any other financing options?
Here is a list of top P2P lending organizations with their best lending rates.
Hey, honey, ṣó ti gbàgbé bí àwọn people yìí ṣe pẹ̀lú àwọn asokoro lórí ilẹ̀ tọ́rà ni?
Madam, ẹ má worry. Eléyìí wà lórí blockchain.
Blockchain? Land? Please tell us more about that.
Blockchain is a technology that facilitates secure online transactions through decentralized and distributed digital ledger. It helps to prevent theft and land dispute because it assists in validating property-related transfers and also assists in providing the benefits of documented land ownership to those who don't have it.
Wow! Finally, a technology that can register land ownership?
Honey, I am so excited. You don't have any idea. Please, can we go with the P2P lending option with the lowest lending rates?
Should I go ahead to process the loan?
Yes.
Can you please touch your screen for authentication? That's great. Authentication complete. After disbursement of loan, should I make the payment for the land?
Has it been verified on the blockchain?
Absolutely yes.
Wow, thank you very much. As a matter of fact, you could go ahead with the necessary investments after the disbursement of loans.
Yes, I totally agree. Now we feel safe knowing the power of blockchain technology in land registry.
Oga, send as well. The Dauda, yawwa, ka aje can.
How much time is required to complete this project?
To wallahi, Oga, if you reach for 3 months, pa.
Oh yeah, tell me, how much do we need to complete the project?
Wato, the balance remain 300,000.
I'm not giving you cash this time. What's your account number?
Hi, Oga. I don't get time for accounts now.
So you haven't heard of Echo one time? It's a service that allows you to open your account anywhere, only by sending Echo to 234. That's all.
That one na juju na.
Oh yeah, try her first. Make we see. Try her.
Kai Oga.
Eh?
Wallahi this one na magic pa.
I tell you, say levels don't change.
Eh.
Things don't change. In fact, the money I want send to you now, I go send them through text message. So you go receive them, then go any Eco one-time kiosk where they around you. That's all.
Echo one time. Kai wallahi me I go open now account for my 25 children wallahi.
25.
Wallahi oga. Echo one time. So. Dauda. Wallahi Dauda is going to fire.
25.
All right, digital platforms, we're going to see a lot of this sort of solutions moving closer and closer to the customers. And what we also see is that in financial services, these platforms will bring together lifestyle, developers, and the industry at large. We also see that there's going to be a lot of things cutting across payments, credit, lending, into areas that haven't really been explored. But just talking a bit about digital platforms, I have a few slides, and I want us to get into it. In 2010, this slide shows the most valuable companies in the world by market capitalization, and this New York Stock Exchange. The top and most valuable companies in 2010 have largely dropped off the list, the non-digital companies. What you see when you look at this list is that in 2017, 7 of the top 10 digital most valuable companies in the world are digital business models. And if you look at 2010, you will see it was only Apple, and if you call Microsoft then a digital company, well, that's fine. But one thing about these numbers is that they tell an interesting story. The first one that I take out here is that the digital platforms must be creating significant value. And therefore, there's 7 of 10 of them in 2017 dominating this list. The other thing that is instructive is that the non-digital platforms have not really created incremental value. If you look at the market valuation for ExxonMobil and you look at 2017. Compare that to Apple. Apple's market valuation has almost tripled between 2010 and 2017. There are also 2 other things for me that are striking. One is that these platforms are industry agnostic, meaning that you will see financial service players, you will see people in entertainment, and all walks of life using these platforms to create market value. The other one that is interesting is Alibaba and Tencent. So Alibaba is the first non-US entity to breach the 400 billion market cap mark. And they're an interesting study in transmutation. Alibaba is a digital platform that started with e-commerce, so they were retailing really, and then they moved to payments. And now they're moving really big to alternative finance, and they're really betting on the cloud. Bottom line is that numbers are important. If you look at these valuable companies, you'll find that the other thing that resonates with all of them is numbers. They are big on numbers. So, for instance, Google has 2 billion users. Look at those numbers, 2 billion users. Apple has 588, and Alibaba has 450 million users. In fact, we say that as we study this, value comes from 3 important things for these companies. The ability to acquire customers or users exponentially, to deliver a steady stream of innovation, and also to reduce the cost to serve. And reducing the cost to serve is something that is also so important in our market. The whole cost to income discussion. In the next slide, I want to bring it home to Nigeria. And this slide, we get these numbers from NIBS, from EFINA, and from a host of sources locally. This is how the financial landscape looks to us. We have a population of 170 million people, and in this 170 million people, you have 96 million adults. That's the estimate. There are 96 million adults. But of the 96 million adults, we know that only 30 million are banked. We know that from BVN. But when you go into that, you see there is a big fraction, 28 million people that are underserved. Why do we say they're underserved? Because the guys that are served, and by being served, we mean financially served, are people that not only have a bank account and do payments, but should have access to credit. They should invest in securities. They should have insurance and the likes. For instance, we know that there are about 1.8 million insurance policy holders. Okay, so when we look at even the banks, we see a significant opportunity in the underserved. 28 million is a big number. The other number that is really striking, and which many of us here know about, is the population of the financially underserved. We have 66 million people that are financially unserved, meaning these are guys that are outside the formally banked. For us, these opportunities speak to where we are in our current journey in financial services in Nigeria. And there are opportunities that we believe digital is best positioned to harness. So let's talk a bit about digital platforms. In the next slide, these digital platforms, if you ask me what a digital platform is, the platforms have always existed, so I won't go into the theory of it. Everywhere you have a middleman between a customer and a provider, the platforms have always existed. The only thing that is changing is that these platforms are more digital. And because they're more digital, it affects the market in very striking ways. One of the ways, like I said, is the ability to ramp up customers. Another way it affects the market is from an innovation perspective. For years, I used to buy CDs, for instance, my personal experience. And for you to buy the CDs, somebody produces them somewhere in the world, they ship them, and it's going from one retailer to the other. But today, I buy music on Apple. But more importantly, the innovation is even going further to just buying music on Apple, to subscribing and listening to music online. And being able to enjoy the same service in the cloud brings a striking price advantage. I pay 900 naira, not million. Not million, please. Before someone starts wondering what exactly is your business, Boye. But I pay 900 naira to listen to whatever music. And sometimes this albums or tracks are just a day old. 900 naira every month. That's disintermediation. So one of the things about these digital platforms is they cause disintermediation. Disintermediation just means they reduce the intermediaries. And because they reduce the intermediaries, they bring innovation, and they also help with the pricing, the superior pricing. Another very important perspective is the network effect. So they create a marketplace, they create an ecosystem that everybody gets value from. Developers, from an iOS perspective, over the last few years, have reportedly earned about $70 billion. So it's not just Apple that is making money. The developers that are developing the apps are also making tons of money. So they're creating value for the ecosystem. In the next slide, we'll look at just the attributes, without getting too technical, of these digital platforms. Some of the attributes, or what we call the assumptions that govern the architecture. These assumptions are really around putting the customer first. And so we're saying, for instance, when I use the Alibaba example, a platform is not necessarily set up with an idea in mind, a siloed idea. The idea behind the platforms ultimately is the customer and how to reach these customers in an efficient and in an innovative way. So customer first is an important principle as we see platform leaders. We also see the whole discussion around APIs. Platforms are designed to take advantage of APIs. And again, not going into the technical definitions of APIs, but what these APIs do is that they give us access to innovation, access to communities of developers, access to other marketplaces. So an architecture that is designed with APIs in mind will ultimately attract a stream of innovation. And of course, that affects the experience of your customers and the end product and what you'll get. Analytics, robotics, and AI, as you saw in the video, is something that reinforces customer experience. And we think the analytics will be at the heart of a lot of the things that we're going to see in the next wave. Things like lending, alternative finance is going to be driven by analytics and AI. And those are the things that we see already in our marketplace. Cloud is important to scale, like I've given the example of Apple, and cybersecurity will continue to be an important principle because a lot of this application setup, the solution setup is in the cloud, if not all of it. Most of it is riding in the cloud, and therefore it's important that trust and resilience continues to be built with customers by ensuring that sufficient attention is paid to cybersecurity. As I begin to round up, I want to say one or two things about the regulatory agenda. We've said that in our market there's a significant opportunity. We've said 28 million people are financially underserved. That's a big opportunity. We've said 66 million people are financially unserved. But it's important to say that if this market is going to experience exponential or significant growth, and we're really going to see transformation in our market from a financial services perspective, there are a few things that the regulators need to look at. And this is by no means exhaustive. But I think for this time, these things require attention. One of it is alternative financing. Because alternative financing, if you look for years, maybe we estimate that less than 5% of people that are banked even have access to credit. Alternative financing is something that can affect not only retail, but we're a very SME-based economy. And the sort of financing that is going to get the economy going with significant growth, we think is going to come not by the traditional lending, but by taking a bigger bet on analytics and things like AI and so on and so forth that I mentioned. The other one that is important is the whole discourse around open APIs. In Europe now, there's the PSD2 discussion and regulation actually that is going to take force shortly. One of the things we need to do in our market is have an industry discussion and get some guidance and concurrence from the regulator on the whole discussions around open APIs. We see banks are already beginning to publish their APIs. We see that this is something that FIs are looking at. But it's important that there's a regulator's perspective. It's important that there's clarity from the regulator on how this is going to evolve. And it gives investors a lot of confidence. Data sovereignty and cloud is very important. There's a whole discussion about the FS industry. The data is sensitive. We really don't want to put it in the cloud. Where is this data? And so on and so forth. Again, this is another area that will require the regulator's perspective and guidance on. Finally, we think digital, particularly fintech enablement, is going to be important. And I can tell you that we know that the central bank is doing stuff with NIBS. For instance, there's a national sandbox initiative. We're heading in the right direction, clearly. And we need to see more of that. How do we create an environment that supports innovation? Dorel was just telling us yesterday at dinner that, a startup can get as much as $1 million in Israel if you can go through the process. the government is willing to support you. So it shows you how keyed in the government is. In Singapore, there is also a fintech fund, essentially for supporting innovation and startups. And these are things that we also think that the regulator needs to look at. So in closing, we think that those that will lead through digital. And as you go on that journey, it's important to be clear on how you are going to leverage digital platforms. You don't have to be a digital platform, but we think in your digital journey, this is a consideration that is going to be important and is going to be a differentiator. Thank you.